types of things. Some people say any contributions other than individuals are positive. Hey guys. Some people say that donations are positive. And some people say since it's private, so it's not a problem. I heard that. I think dark money politics are about that. And it's not going to stand up against trying to people are represented by what about it's great. I think one of those kind of absurd things we have to spend all of our time as congressional candidates and then ultimately as congressional representatives race them so that you can get access to voters. I think that's probably and I think we can figure out a way to stop that. So focus our representatives' time on representing people.
So there's another question that's related about the parties and party politics and how it feeds into
Lisa? Okay.
personal.
Oh, so you just need to pay college then?
The job and so I think the party actually has to say about it. We're going to actually do the same
well, the families over there, and I don't think anybody's very good.
platform
ability to make sure that you work hard, you play by the rules, get ahead in life, and find a good place.
Public education has been under attack all the 40 years I've been working here.
I think that's right.
Hey there.
Can I see you? Good to see you. Back up. Open up our circle a little bit. So yeah, I think that's a big issue that we need to pay a lot of attention to, and it's something it's a concern that I hear about everywhere I go.
What are your ideas about it? I'm here to find out what you think about things, and you just tell me you have concerns, and we all have those concerns. I want to know what you think.
Sure, I'd be happy to say what I think. Yeah. I think that the efforts to defund our public education system and under the guise of school choice is probably, I think school choice is fine as long as it's not at the stake of funding our public education system. I'm a product of public education. I went to school at Gammon Elementary, both two rural schools. I went to elementary school. Then I went to Lincoln Elementary School. And then I went to Morgan Middle School right down the road, and then I went to Ellensburg High School. And I felt like I had the world at my fingertips going to public school. It was well funded for teachers who care about students. And I think the more cut funding in public education, cut after-school programs, the more problems running together. So, school choice is fine as long as we're not funding charter schools at the cost of public education.
That's one issue, but what are we going to do about the schools that are not charter schools?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, sorry.
What are we going to do about the schools that are not charter schools, our regular public schools? What is the solution? What are we doing to help? I mean, for 30 years I've been involved in doing that kind of work. So I think I know what we need to do to make it.
Tell me what
I
you
want to
think.
know what you think first.
Sure. Well, I think we can start with funding. Here's the thing: Congress, the power of the purse strings, right? And so your biggest impact you can have as a U.S. Congress is to fund public education and give people who know what to do in schools the opportunity to do it, right? You can't do things when you don't have any funding or resources or people that create relationships with students. I think that the power of public education comes from the educators who are involved, the passion of those educators and their ability to take control and do what they think is best. Especially, you know a guy named John Brown, who is a principal here at Lincoln Elementary School, and he believes, and I wholeheartedly believe too, that quality public education comes from students, administrators, forming relationships with students and convincing them that they have to work hard in school, they have to give the curriculum to succeed, and that's the path to high-paying jobs and the path to climb up the middle class, which I think is really the American dream. So, from a congressional standpoint, the best way to help public education systems is to make sure that it's properly funded. Make sure that the people who work in public education have the resources to succeed, and that teachers aren't worried about spending their own money with pencils in people's desk drawers or paper on the desks. Right? But I'd love to know what you think.
Yeah, I'll tell you. The other thing we need is more teachers.
I agree. Class size is a huge problem. And class size is a problem not only in Washington State, but we have a mandate on class size, right? And we're actually doing a decent job of putting the number of teachers with the number of students. But we need to be good across the country, and Washington can get better. The other problem is here in Central, where we haven't properly funded education in our state for a decade. Or maybe longer. Please. Hey, good to see you. How are you?
Several of your opponents are touting experience and advocacy. So how are you going to
I'd be curious which opponents are talking about their experience in D.C., but I've worked for a U.S. Congressman. I worked for Congressman Rick Larson in the 2nd Congressional District.
I'm sorry.
I worked for Congressman Rick Larson in the 2nd Congressional District. So, just on my background, so I was born and raised here. I grew up in Ellensburg. Went to school at the University of Washington. I got a degree in economics. And when I left the UW, I went to work for Congressman Larson in the 2nd Congressional District. And following my time with Larson, then I went to law school out in Chicago and got my law degree at DePaul University. I came back. I spent my entire professional career in Western Washington. I served as a criminal prosecutor for King County for years. Served in a special assault unit, violent crime unit, and then I went to work in private practice where I did labor and employment law representing employees and workers' rights. And so I'm the only candidate that has experience representing people, which is what I've done in my professional life. And I know what this whole congressional thing's like because I work for a U.S. Congressman. I know what it's like to represent constituents. I know what it's like to work hard every day to make sure you're putting their interests first and trying to stand for the right thing. So,
You've got economic, agriculture, politics. They're going to have different
So there's no question that the 8th Congressional District is the most unique district in the state, right? It's the only one that crosses the Cascades. We have the farming and ranching communities over here in Eastern Washington. We got high tech and manufacturing industries over in western Washington, and we got a big Cascade mountain range that runs down the road. And I think that's why it's important that we have a representative who understands both sides of the line. I was born and raised over here. And whether it's fair or not, you get an understanding of an area when you grow up there. And you understand the issues because you live there. And I've also spent my entire career over in western Washington. So, I think what we can best do as a congressional representative is to learn from the constituents, listen to the constituents, and then help them lead in Congress. And the best way to do that is to be accessible, to be available, get out there and meet with people, and do your best to stand up for what's right. So you're right. I do think, though, as we get down on the issues, while people have concerns that come from different angles, we're not that far apart on the issues. Infrastructure is an issue, whether or not you live in Sammamish or you live in Wenatchee. You might be concerned in Wenatchee about infrastructure because you've got to get your apples across the mountains and out the port. And you might be concerned about infrastructure when you live in Sammamish because it takes you an hour to get to work. That's only 10 miles away. If you're lucky, right? But fundamentally, the concern is infrastructure. It's something we got to address, and we got to do a better job.
So what do you address it? So here it is. What do you think we should do?
With infrastructure?
Yeah, so we're talking nationally.
Yeah. Roads, includes ports, includes transit for people farther than just outside the city centers. One of the big initiatives I think that we ought to be pushing is the sound transit expansion into the 8th Congressional District. It doesn't exist there right now. I think we ought to be looking at public transit opportunities to reduce congestion and to invest in the long-term solutions to moving people. Because I think that's an opportunity to do something that's right, not only for the environment, but for commuting and for infrastructure. We're way behind public transit. Yep.
What is your general hope for healthcare? Do you believe in Medicare for all? And so, how would that be paid for?
Yeah, I will.
About Medicare,
I will.
single payer.
Your question about healthcare. What's my belief in healthcare? This is something we talk about throughout the district at every stop because healthcare is on people's mind. The reason healthcare is on people's minds is because it's under attack. Right now, the Republicans have put forward bills to cut healthcare for millions of people across the country. And that's unacceptable. I think healthcare ought to be a human right. I think it is a human right. I believe in universal healthcare. I think the best thing we can do to get a universal healthcare system in place is to do 3 things immediately. The first thing is we can increase access to Medicaid options. We can do it by raising the threshold for access to Medicaid. The second thing we can do is lower the age requirements for Medicare. So the market and get more people access to Medicare. The third thing we can do is in markets in which private insurers have left, we can make Medicare an option in those marketplaces. Because I think we have an obligation to get universal health care to as many people in the country as possible, as quickly as possible. We're not going to get a single payer system through. We're not going to get some big Medicare for all bill through, at least for the next 2 years or 3 years. So I think whatever we can do to come together to unify people and figure out how we fix our healthcare system, that's what I've been doing.
There's one issue that I think is going to be hard to solve with conflicts on, and that's public lands. And I'm really concerned that this administration is trying to privatize.
Just today, does everybody know that? Public land station, National Public Land Station. The question is about public lands. How are you going to talk about the topic of public lands when there are sometimes competing interests when it comes to who should manage public lands and how they should be managed? Both those things. To me, the topic of public lands is under the umbrella of the environment, and the environment, I think, of 3 big issues: public lands, renewable energy, and conservation. Public lands, to me, are a bit under attack, especially by the Trump administration and Secretary of Safety. We just saw a leaked memo that wants to reduce our national monuments and cut funding for them. That's a problem, right? I strongly believe in public lands. I am a member of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, which is their entire mission is to preserve our public lands. Right? I've also been actively engaged with a group called Cascade Land Conservancy, which is now called Forterra, which advocates for expansion of our public lands. And we're all public land owners, right? The big debate is, should we turn access to those public lands over to the states and let them do with it what they will? To me, that's divesting our public lands, and that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable because states cannot have the resources. They don't have the resources or the money to manage public lands, and they end up being forced into a situation where they sell it for profit, allow the extraction of natural resources, and it ruins access for all of us. That's divesting public lands. I'm committed to standing up against divesting our public lands entirely. I do think that there is room to talk about partnerships with the federal government in how to manage those public lands with local stakeholders who know those lands best. And so, as long as control remains in the federal government, then I'm very interested in talking about utilizing local resources, Native American tribes, conservation groups, in discussing how we manage those public lands. But we're all on the same team there, right? The biggest thing to me is protecting those public lands. One of the questions then comes up is, what should we allow access to? What should horses be able to go in? Should we allow ATV access? Should we allow? And that's a debate I would love to have, as long as we can ensure we're protecting our public lands first.
And you have the grazing and the logging issues.
Right.
And so they feel like they need to be part of the input as well. And how do you address that?
I think you have a conversation or invite them to the table. I think too often we are stuck in ideological positions where we're not having conversations with everybody that should be at the table. And in order to do that, we need to protect the public lands and invite local stakeholders in to have discussions on how we protect certain parts of the public lands. Because the reality is, not every public land is the same, right? And that's something I think we ought to be more, we ought to recognize quicker, and we ought to have those conversations sooner.
It seems to me that we do have, in a lot of ways, cooperation in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
I mean, there are lots of examples of that, especially around wolf populations, caribou, other kinds of things, working on fish and so forth. But it seems to me the biggest problem with it all is we come up with ideas together, and there's, like I said, I think some good things going on now, all over the place. But we don't fund the people we need. It's just like I said about education. We don't have people out there to enforce it. We don't have the money to keep campgrounds up, to manage stuff. Nobody's out there watching what's going on. People get away with a lot of stuff that they just want to do. So, and that's because of the shrinking government philosophy of that a lot of people have. So what do we do about that? It's another place where the feds need to decide, the Congress needs to decide to spend some money.
I agree.
And figure out where it's going to come from. So as an aside, yes, we agree with that, but as an aside, so how in the hell are we getting the money? Yeah. And so Bernie, I got my Bernie shirt on if I could right now. So, Bernie's suggestion is things like, having people who make a lot of money pay their taxes. And actually fair taxes. Things like we're talking about Medicare and stuff. If I make $1 million and I pay the same amount as what we all pay, and you have paid, then I look at that and say, yeah, why not? So what's the argument about that? I mean, how do you take that to Congress and say, hey boys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, hey, everybody should pay the same amount, percentage of their income. And what do we do about that? When I can hide my income as a turnover or oh no, these are just stocks. They're worth billions of dollars, but I don't have to pay very much taxes on that because we made a law making it. So when it comes to all this stuff is connected with economics now when you're an economist. So what is this economics? How would you approach working with that particular aspect of things? Because I'm sick and tired of regressive tax. I don't mind paying taxes. I'm pissed off about how they're spent.
There are a lot there. So the first issue is there is clearly an effort when it comes to our public lands from advocates on the federal government who believe they should be divested to cut funding for things like law enforcement, to cut funding for groups that patrol our public lands and protect our public lands in the city agencies, because it furthers their argument that these things should be turned over to the state to do. Here's the problem. That means state law enforcement agencies would be required to patrol them, and they simply cannot. They cannot. Not at all. Not at all. I'm a former criminal prosecutor. I worked with state and local law enforcement agencies. They don't have enough money to do a lot of the things they're trying to do, right? And they certainly can't take on an obligation to patrol large swaths of public lands, right? The only way we can continue to protect our public lands is to properly fund management. And you do that by creating a budget that makes sense, by funding things that are important, and public lands are near the top, right?
That's Congress's job.
That's Congress's job. I completely agree. Our tax code absolutely needs revamping. The problem is the Trump administration has just put forward a tax plan that will benefit the people who don't need it, the wealthiest people. I mean, the tax plan that's all Trump has put forward is one that will save him $1.1 billion by some years. That's absurd. We need to close loopholes at the top, reduce deductions at the top, so that the wealthiest people in America are paying their fair share. There's no question. Absolutely. So how do you achieve that? Congress is pretty divided right now. I think what you do is you go to Congress as a representative, you strongly advocate for your position, you try to convince people it's the right thing to do, and you get people on your team, and then you draft legislation, put forward bills, and we can be as effective as we can as advocates if we can convince people it's the right thing to do. That's what I'm committed to doing.
So would you join the Progressive Caucus or not?
Well, I don't know yet. I'd like to go see what it's all about. I'd like to get there and have an opportunity to find people who want to push forward common sense solutions and come together on all walks of human issues and get things done.
I know a lot about it, and I'm not running for Congress, so I can't believe you're ignorant about it. I'll just consider that a safety answer for a politician. Sure.
Do you support more gun control to address the growing gun violence?
Yeah, so I believe in the Second Amendment, right? I mean, I grew up in a family where guns were in our household, and the first thing we talk about when it comes to guns is gun safety. At the same time, I believe there's a gun crime problem in America. I was a criminal prosecutor that went to work every single day thinking about that problem and figuring out how to address it. I think there's a lot of room to come together, set aside the partisan rhetoric, and talk about common sense measures to ensure that criminals don't get guns. Because I think we ought to all agree on that. I've never met anyone that said criminals should have access to guns, right? I think that's a pretty common sense statement. I spend a lot of time figuring out how they don't get access to guns. I'd like to make sure that our laws reflect what is a problem in America with kids getting shot in schools and kids getting access to guns they shouldn't have access to. And so we should talk about gun safety measures, not gun control measures.
What about the idea that if you have a gun, you have to have like a driver's license to have a gun? We have a driver's license for cars because we have to be insured, first of all, and second of all, we have to kind of guarantee that we are reasonably knowledgeable how to drive them. Why not do the same thing with guns?
I think the first thing we ought to do when it comes to guns in Congress is we should make sure that if you're on a no-fly list because you're a suspected terrorist, you can't get a gun. I think the next thing we should do is make sure that if you have a domestic violence protection order taken out against you, you shouldn't have access to your gun. Because as a criminal prosecutor, I saw the majority of domestic violence homicides occur in that window, right? And then I think we should figure out how to put in place a background check system that makes sense to make sure that criminals can't walk into a gun show or walk into a store and buy a gun without knowing whether that person's committed a felony before.
Gun license. There you go.
Good question. Thank
What do you do about the bogus felonies? Because everything in the country is illegal and it could result. But in the felonies, I mean the bogus ones, like eluding a police officer.
Yeah.
Now, I think there needs to be restrictions on significant felonies, but just because you get the felony on your record, I don't know if it's always the best thing.
I agree with you, Ken. I think that we can't forget that in America, we have a right to due process. And we shouldn't take anyone's rights away without following due process. I'm a rule of law guy. I'm a lawyer. I'm a criminal prosecutor. I'm a private practice employment lawyer. And there is plenty of opportunity. Guys like John Tester and Martin Heinrich introduced legislation in the United States Senate from Montana and New Mexico, who are also hunters and anglers and own guns and understand that there is room to make common sense approaches towards protecting our community. And that's something that they advocate for a lot. Due process has to be part of any gun legislation, no question.
If you're elected, will you vote for Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker of the House again?
I've never met Nancy. I don't know. Yeah, I've never met her.
Okay, so I have more of a political question.
Sure.
So right now, most popular national political figures are
Yeah, that's true.
and the reason why he's popular is in part because he's willing to talk about solutions to issues without making fuss and much about it. You have been on both sides of the mountain for a long time, both sides. And so you're gonna, I don't want to see any more Hillary Clinton type Democratic campaigns, not to blame Hillary for it, because that's just been the way that Democrats have been doing it for the last 30 years. Sure. So what are you going to do? How are you going to do? Are you going to go out there as a progressive? It doesn't mean you have to say something that is nuts, but are you going to go out there trying to, well, maybe those guys are Republicans, maybe that's How are you going to do that?
Not certain I understand your question completely. But sure. Well, you said I don't want to have a Hillary Clinton campaign. I don't know what that means.
Well, it means piecemealing everything, saying everything that she can do is incremental, that she's going to do personal issues, personality politics, crap like that. But rather than stand and say, well, we need to prepare healthcare. So there are ways we can get it. But we need gun control, like you said. We need to keep the guns away. But I've heard that we need to keep guns away from criminals for my entire adult life. And I'm old. So that's old tired crap. So what? I mean, you're willing to say something like they need a license and insurance to have guns. Because it's a deadly weapon. We do that with cars because they're deadly weapons. I mean, I don't mean you have to take that issue, but approach issues like, okay, here's the stand. Something different rather than trying to make everybody like you because they think they agree with you even though you haven't said anything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm not attacking you now. I'm just telling you, if you want to get elected, there's a lot of us who are going to be looking for that.
I think it's a good point. I think that sometimes in American politics we are too hesitant to take a stand on things we believe in. And that's not me. That's never been me. I am committed to demonstrating to voters what I believe in, why I believe in it, and why I think it's the right way to go. Part of that is to listen to people in the community, because that's ultimately your job. Your job becomes representing a diverse group of people across a diverse state, have many interests on both sides of the Cascade Mountains. And part of the way we get opportunities to articulate what we believe in and where we stand is in these types of settings. And so I don't think it's an empty statement to say criminals shouldn't have access to guns. What's an empty for me as a criminal prosecutor to fight to make sure they didn't, to put them in jail when they did. So saying that I think they should have a license to own a gun, no, I don't think that. Look, this is a free country. I think we should do everything we can in order to protect access to our constitutional rights. And you have a constitutional right to a gun. You don't have a constitutional right to drive a car. And that's the difference. Yeah.
What do you think about people protesting the national anthem? What do you think about the latest national anthem protests? Kneeling during the anthem?
I see. Look, I don't think we should characterize it as protesting the national anthem, because I don't think that's what they're doing. They're protesting racial injustice in America, and they're choosing a place to do it that I think can have the most impact. Look, saying that they're protesting the national anthem is like saying that Rosa Parks was protesting the transit system when she refused to stand. You agree, right? Yeah. Of course she was. She was refusing to stand on a bus because of the state of racial injustice and segregation and racism. And that's the same reason they're taking measures to ensure and exercise their First Amendment right to protest. That's not a way I would do it. But I believe that in America, we also ought to ensure that people can protest in whatever way they see fit. Because that is also a constitutional right.
How do you address the core issues to get rid of that?
Yeah. Racial
Particularly as
injustice.
someone from a constitutional background, the relationship with law enforcement robberies.
And we've taken a giant step backwards in that area.
I have a constitutional right to buy a car. There's ones out there. I don't think the Second Amendment really is relevant to what I say. And it's kind of crazy. I hear that from people are crazy about it, but I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So I think that's part of what we do.
Because we're free, we work in a free economy, we have the right to go to the market and buy stuff. It's all guaranteed in the Constitution. We have all kinds of rules about how we trade, how we move things that we purchase one place to another. The whole point is going to use it to give us the freedom to participate in those things. Whereas before, the king would decide, could you shoot a deer, or could you do this, could you do that. It's part of our freedom, it's part of who we are. It's part of what we are.
Jason, I got a question about healthcare.
Yes.
We jump back to healthcare. As the opportunity arises, are you willing to work towards a single payer system?
Yeah, I'm willing to do anything to get towards universal health care. And if we're on that track, I'm there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what we need.
That's what we need. And I really see that as the step towards.
Yeah, I think we're going to take some steps to get there. But I've seen some bills that have been proposed that kind of circle around it, and the opportunity to talk about it there.
That's right.
So that's good.
And look, the thing about, keep in mind the healthcare system we have right now, which is called the Affordable Care Act, came out of the Heritage Foundation. That was the Republican Party's bill in Massachusetts to bring healthcare to as many people as possible. Now, Mitt Romney had to retreat from it during the presidential run because it was the system that Barack Obama and the Democrats put forward because they didn't get it passed. I think we need to continue to make progress in healthcare, lower the cost of healthcare, not only of treatment but also of prescription drugs, and move towards a system that brings universal healthcare. And I think it's the right to have healthcare. And you should not, by the way, your level of access to healthcare should not be determined by how much money you make.
In that process, are you ready to start taking on reform on the insurance law in Congress, which is where some of those big loopholes and, how the insurance lobby warped Obamacare has caused a lot of
Problems.
Are you ready to take those opportunities?
Yeah, they are. Here's the thing about my background. I, as a lawyer, take on the biggest corporations in America right now, representing individual plaintiff employees. And we do it on a contingency basis, which means if we don't win, we don't even get paid. And so we take them on already. And that's something I've been doing for my career and something I'll absolutely take with me. So yeah, I'm ready. Game on. Really happy. There. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. What other questions? Yeah.
What do you think behind the technology ball with this administration going away from alternative energy and sustainable energy and other countries are going to get ahead of us?
What do we do?
How can we have the speed when we get opportunity again?
I can't think of a better place to be advocating for renewable energy than the 8th Congressional District, Washington State. Because you don't have to drive very far down the road to see our efforts, right? And we ought to be not only the leader in putting in renewable energy technology, we ought to be the leader in exporting our renewable energy technology, especially because of the relationship with Washington State and China, and Washington State and Japan, and the Asian markets. And so part of the way we do that is we can continue to incentivize small businesses to grow up and create the next best invention. We create opportunities for small businesses who are in the energy market, in the renewable energy sector right now, to thrive. And part of the way you do that is you get them access to capital. I think 75% of our jobs in the 8th Congressional District come from small businesses. A lot of small businesses are starting up in this renewable energy sector. One of the big challenges they have right now is access to capital. Because following the big crash in 2008, we got a bill called Dodd-Frank. And sometimes in response to economic crisis and other crises, we over-legislate. And I think that's an example in which we over-legislated a bit. A pause that occurred as a result of Dodd-Frank capitalized the wealth at the top, and it became very, very hard for small businesses to get access to capital, which means they have no incentive or ability to take a risk. And so having a common sense adjustments to our regulatory process and lending at the regional level, I think will help us invest in renewable energy at home and in renewable energy businesses that are trying to launch every day, and ultimately create jobs here and allow us to export our technologies that we're growing on the road. Oh, most are very good. Yeah, most are very good. I'm talking about like 3 tiny tweaks to allow access to capital and lending at the regional bank level, right? And they're minimal. One is allowing small businesses to self-authenticate to establish that they're creditworthy. Right now, you have to go through a third party, and that is holding up access to capital for small businesses that it really shouldn't. You need to allow regional banks to take a bet on their neighbors and allow them to invest. A couple of little things like that. Dodd-Frank in general is very, very good and very important to making sure we don't return to a place where big banks take advantage of the middle class and pensions and to everybody's detriment. So yes, absolutely. What else was there? Yeah. Immigration is one of those issues that I think can unite our district in particular, because we have the agriculture community who sometimes tends to be a little bit more conservative, being hurt by a conservative administration's approach to immigration. Their scare tactics, travel bans, all of those things are not only terrible on a human level, but terrible for the economy as well. I think we need a comprehensive immigration plan that strengthens our borders, because we can't allow free-flowing immigration. That doesn't work, not only for our system of government, but from a security standpoint. But we need to put in an immigration reform system that ensures dignity to the people who are here, and ensures they are protected, and ensures that they aren't put in a position where they don't feel like they can come to work or at the same time come forward when something happens to them. Because what we see in the criminal justice space is that when they are afraid to come forward because of their status, then they don't report crime, they don't report what they see, they don't report what happens to them. And I saw that as a criminal prosecutor, and that is devastating, not only to the family dynamic, but also to our community. So, making sure that we are sensitive to the needs of people who are here is really important for us. And I want to make sure that we first protect people in the document program, because we made a promise to the dreamers who are here, 800,000 of them. And America doesn't rescind their promises. And we're seeing that happen right now. I think that we ought to allow the people who are here to stay, and they got to get in line behind everybody else who has approached immigrated to the United States in a legal manner, who came here lawfully. And I think that's critical. That's something that I've been working on since 2005, 2006 when I worked in Congress with Larson on these issues. And the problem with our immigration system is we talk about it a lot, but it gets anything done. I think we have a perfect opportunity to actually get things done, because we've now seen the ramifications of terrible rhetoric on the other side. A friend of mine actually led the litigation in the state of Washington. Betty Miller herself, who's our Solicitor General, led the litigation against the Trump administration to stop the travel ban. Because that was not put in place to protect anyone. That was not put in place to protect America, and it didn't. Right? All it was meant to do was to rebel rouse and create problems in our communities, and that's unacceptable.
We don't seem very well prepared to maintain the security of our personal information on the internet.
We do not.
Do you have any
Thoughts on that?
feelings about how the federal government might intervene to
Yeah.
protect?
Yeah, so there was
records and
yeah.
financial records?
Yeah. That's actually a space that I have litigated in. So we have brought litigation at the firm I am at when there are massive data breaches, when companies fail to protect their employees' information, right? Employees, our employers have a lot of information. They have our home address, they have our spouse's name, they have our social security number, and often our healthcare information, right? And when companies fail to protect their individual employees' information, we've litigated in that space, and here's the problem. The law is often a lagging indicator in most fields. In other words, often a problem occurs and then the law catches up to address it, right? We're in that space right now, where the personal information is information is stolen, you have to go through this PIN system with the IRS that delays tax returns. There should not be a two-tiered system if your information is hacked or if it's not. We should all move to a higher threshold of security. We should put into place a system that is quick and immediate so that things are So part of what Congress can do is direct the IRS to create that infrastructure system. It's very interesting to do it. You're right, that's a problem that's developing the laws that Yes.
Actually, I had to do that, and I just contacted the IRS. They said, "Oh, you can do it online." So you do it online, you get a hearing, and now
You're okay.
I'm okay for that year. And when you send me, they automatically send me a different PIN the next year when I know.
So I think everybody should be on a two-step authentication system. I think that should be standard rather than correcting the problem on the back end when your tax return is stolen. We should automatically go to higher level of security. Everybody, and that'll be great. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets a PIN. Everybody has two-step authentication with everything. Because the nature of our information is some of the most crucial information we have, right? It's like losing your wallet. Devastating, right? What else we got?
International issues.
Yeah. In general?
Well, we continue to come in foreign policy in a way that's different from what we're scared.
Agreed. Yes.
And then at a house level, you don't have a lot of sway.
You don't. No, you don't. Yes. It's problematic, right? I mean, one thing I think is absolutely crucial is that we take back the House of Representatives in 2018. And the only path to that is winning an congressional district. Simple as that. The other path to taking back the House of Representatives is also winning in the congressional district of Washington. And I think our ability to put a check on the Trump administration depends on us winning in this district. And that's why this is going to be such an important election. And that's why we should all feel energized about an opportunity. Because this is the opportunity to do that.
Then she wants to
Right. Yes. The best, I think we failed to recognize the significance and the severity of mental health in our country for a really, really long time, and the population where that has had the most effect is in our veterans. That is, without question, a passion issue of mine that I intend to advocate for fully if I get an opportunity to represent Congress. If you serve the military and you put your life on the line for our country, we need to make sure your life's taken care of when you get that. And that includes healthcare, making sure you got access to education. One of the best investments our country's ever made was the GI Bill, right? And I think we need a great opportunity for our soldiers who are returning to their mission today, like we did when soldiers were killed in the GI Bill.
All over the freaking world, you have oil companies and other countries in South America. So, all this to declaring war. How would you work with that situation as a congressperson?
Yeah, I agree with that. The idea of unitary executive is a scary thought, right? We have 3 equal branches of government. Yeah, we have. Okay, thank you. We have 3 equal branches of government. John McCain was just on the floor of the Senate advocating for this issue of executive. And he put it best, right? He said that Congress has a role to play. We have a role to play to counter and make sure that our voice is equal, especially in decisions when it comes to our peace and so how will I deal with that issue? I think that is the most important issue a congressional representative faces in a term of Congress, is to decide whether or not to vote yes or no and send it to somebody. That's one that I would take. It's one you can't rely on unless the situation's there. I'm an evidence guy, I'm a facts guy, I'm an attorney. So if the evidence backs me forward, that's something that I will I will make sure we put on every single stone before make sure that everything is
what about the business of negotiation versus this paradigm? It seems to me that we need to stick to ridiculous over now. We have a militarized society, we have militarized people, we have militarized minds all around it. We know there's 2 forensic say their veterans looking through it differently than say somebody exploded themselves to be a doctor and the army's working bringing stuff up. And we're way back in society already in this sense. But how do we deal with that?
I think foreign policy in general, diplomacy first, and exhaustive diplomacy ought to be a must in any foreign policy. I think we are not utilizing enough diplomacy when it comes to and part of the reason is because the administration has cut our state departments so far that we don't have the resources to utilize diplomacy we know how to.
That sounds just like a specialized function. Oh my God, this stuff is local, national local, but also
It is. I agree. Yes, that's true.
Okay, I'm not real knowledgeable on this, but the goal, of course, is to control Eastern King County. Realistic, let's talk realistic. And then the goal is to quit reduce bleeding over here in Eastern Washington. What message you have to the second, third, and fourth ag and orchard to convince them that they're voting for a Democrat, no matter who it is?
Yeah.
Because we all know here, if it's our bank, that's it.
Right. I think 2 things. The first thing is getting access to have a conversation. I think that's absolutely critical because I'm not going to convince anybody to cross a party line unless I can talk to them. And that's part of why I'm all over the district and will continue to be the whole time. The second thing, when I get in front of them, will be look less at party identity and look more at who's going to stand for the right thing and who's going to give you an advantage in representing you. A huge issue for our ag community is immigration. I mean, that's one where Republicans are hurting our ag community, and it's one where Democrats are protecting our ag community. I think that's the first thing we do. Second, government funding. The government is cutting funding to the ag community, not only through EPA and clean water, but in farm subsidies. And it's easy to look up. People in this community, farmers in this community, depend on ag subsidies. You can look up how much every farmer in the United States of America has gotten from the Department of Agriculture online. And so explaining the ramifications of a budget that destroys access to funding for and farm subsidies, I think helps get and we're having success already, right? They're at least willing to have the conversation. Part of it is because I grew up working on a hay farm, and so I've cut hay, and I can find a bridge to help have those conversations. I think that's
There's a great problem.
yes.
You're never going to change the 30 generation. Hardly at all. And that's my opinion. What are you going to do to get down to the 40 and group?
Yeah. That we need to do. That's right. That we need new energy and new ideas in politics. And I think that speaks to a whole bunch of us. And the other thing we do is we turn them out to vote. I grew up with a lot of them, right? I grew up with the theaters, the Hattleys, Charlton, and all the ranching communities out here. And my wife and I saw them at the rodeo. And we've already started having those conversations. We'll continue to have those conversations because this one's important. Probably the most important election of our life.
So, I know this. So, it seems to me that big corporate farming businesses have taken advantage of subsidies that were originally designed for smaller scale farmers. And what are you going to do about that? What would you suggest happens with that? Because I can see both sides of that. And I've raised my food.
Right. Yeah, I mean, part of government's job fundamentally is to set regulation, right? And if corporations have found ways to manage our regulations, we're going to change the regulation. And I think there's ways to do that. We probably wouldn't pass some big changes, but government helps sure the biggest corporations and the billionaires and millionaires who don't need it. Should be to make sure there's an even playing field and make sure that everybody can do better. And I think in our communities, we all do better when everybody else does better too. And so finding ways to crack down on fraudulent use is incredibly important, especially in our
The minimum wage.
what I think about that.
It
sure does.
Basically, it's got everything to support the other thing they have decent life. So, what do we do about that, Mr. Eckert?
Yes, we've been on this experiment since the 1970s that if you concentrate level at the top, somehow that'll trickle down to everybody else. And that is just not true, right? So I was listening to a speech by Mitch McConnell, who was a Kentucky Farm Bureau, and he said, you know, if we give corporations tax cuts, the jobs just magically appear. Well, that's a lie. That's not true, right? The same thing is true about our economic system where we concentrate level at the top and tell everybody it trickles downhill. It does not, period. So I fundamentally believe we have to build our economy from the middle out. I believe that prosperity comes from the middle. And so then the question is, well, what's the middle? The middle is the middle class. And so how do you define the middle class? I define the middle class by economic security. If you have to decide between paying your rent or your medical bills, you're not middle class. We need to have regulations in place, regulations on livable wages in place to ensure that we are creating opportunities to get through hard work in order to get to economic security. Because the more people in our middle class, the more we know about our middle class, I think the better our community is. So part of that is a livable wage. And here's the thing about it. They talk about a livable wage versus a minimum wage. Well, I believe in a minimum wage. I think the federal government ought to take the same approach to the state of Washington, which is target wage for supervisors so they can adjust rather than taking their traditional path to adjust the minimum wage every decade when they get to it. So in Washington State, we're ahead of the game, right? But the minimum wage in Seattle of $15 is very different than a minimum wage in kid in that county $15. And I don't believe there should be. I don't believe that a one-size-fits-all approach is going to work. So we need to find a solution to our livable wage issue without setting unreasonable regulations, unreasonable penalties that could otherwise. Like $50 in Alabama is very different than that. $50 in Seattle isn't enough.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that people are used to being poor, right? Like I was teaching on a Colburn University. I taught there for 16 years. Okay, in 1982, the state decided that all the wages for teachers in the state needed to be the same. Sure. Okay. Well, that was pretty cool because I had $200 for money living while I'm paying for my property and I'm trying to go. It was great for me.
What was it?